Hello everyone, today's talk will be about my main problem with Disney live-action remakes of classical movies from the past. Well, I can remember the times when Disney used to be one of my favorite companies in the United States media industry. It makes more fun, a lot of great shows, such as Mickey Mouse Works, DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Telespin, Goof Troop. It even had awesome franchises, such as Very Good Old Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, Minnie Mouse, Daisy Duck, Pluto, Chip 'n Dale, The Lion King, Aladdin, Brother Bear, Jungle Book, Winnie the Pooh, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, and this goes on. They were good times. Unfortunately, all good things end up very bad and began collapsing, and the magic world was turned capitalized disaster, such as ruining masterpieces, like turning Mickey Mouse from a good old classical character into a character for babies, toddlers, preschoolers, and kindergartners. The same goes with Winnie the Pooh. But this is not the case that I want to talk about. My main problem with live-action remakes of Disney classical movies. I realize that this is not an unpopular opinion and has been discussed a lot, but I just thought I'd express that like many people I am beyond fed up of all the live-action Disney movies that Disney keep relentlessly churning out. I mean, it just annoys me how they seem to be doing this with basically every classic Disney movie now. And it's clearly all just a big cash grab, as a lot of people have also said, further highlighting just how incredibly commercial and corporate Disney has become now. It's no longer about all the fun and magic, but rather about commercialism along with political correctness and wokeness. That's something that really annoys me too. For all of us who loved and enjoyed these films when we were younger, remembering the magical feeling of watching those magical, beautiful animations and moments in those films, we want to remember them as the childhood, nostalgic classics they were. So why do they keep butchering them for us? I mean, like I've been saying for the last 8 years, when the Cinderella live-action adaptation, the first Disney live-action remake, came out, of today's corporate, overly woke, PC Disney company that is, why can't they just leave well enough alone? I mean, it just really annoys me. Like a lot of people have said that all they're doing is rehashing the original animated movies, with these live-action movies being the exact same movies as the animated ones but just in live-action. So like, what's the point other than that it's live-action? I mean, of course there are some changes to these movies, but they are only small ones, and bad ones at that are usually making it a lot more politically correct and overly woke. If they at least made it like Maleficent with the story being told from another perspective, then I could accept that a lot more, as at least it is something original and of their own. And it's because they've done that with Maleficent that I don't understand why they couldn't just do that with the rest of the Disney movies instead of just simply recreating them into the live-action. The fact that nearly every live-action Disney remake now is full of political correctness and excessive wokeness is just ridiculous, as in some cases it is not even historically accurate, realistic, like all the black characters in Beauty and the Beast, despite the fact there won't have been that many if any black people because of the slave trade that was going on back then in 18th century France. Also, there is a lot of feminist propaganda in that film, which comes as no surprise with Emma Watson, the most outspoken, opinionated, self-righteous, self-important celebrity feminist out there, being in the lead role. Like with Belle suddenly being an inventor and the villagers being outraged that she was teaching a girl to read because this was seen as too radical, despite the fact this wasn't even an issue back then, with the first Beauty and the Beast story even being published in a girls' magazine at the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the concept of girls taking on more male stereotyped occupations, but this just wasn't the time and place for it, as it just wasn't historically accurate or realistic. That's not even the worst. The most recent example, of course, is in most recent Disney live-action remake of The Little Mermaid, where of course they have made Ariel black. Now don't get me wrong, I have no problem with a black protagonist princess at all in general. It has absolutely nothing to do with her race, but rather the fact that it's clearly just yet another desperate attempt of Disney's to appear all politically correct and woke, with them along with many other films and TV shows these days just assertively shoving this politically correct, overly woke agenda in our faces. I mean, if you want to make your own film making all characters diverse, then fine, go ahead. but adapting an original version of something and changing the character's appearance completely just isn't right, just imposing your overly leftist, PC, radical social justice views onto other people's work. As I realize that the people making these Disney live-action remakes are seemingly different from the ones who made the original ones, especially the ones from the golden era. I mean, of course I'm all for diversity, but this is just more trying to very assertively make a politically correct, overly woke statement, with society being full of all the PC snowflakes now, not to mention how race is not the only form of diversity there is. I just hate that Disney films used to be about the fun and magic, but now it's all about money and political correctness, wokeness. I hate as well all the CGI, which ruins it completely, as it was the beauty of the traditional 2D animation that made Disney movies the magical, classic masterpieces they are. But all this heavy use of in-your-face, overdone CGI and special effects just ruins and undermines that completely. It again is just another clear sign of them being desperate to come off as modern and trendy and cool, as well as making lots and lots and lots of money, because of course these films are going to be very high budget. It's also very commercial too, of course. Oh, and the fact they're already in the process of doing a live-action remake of Moana is just absurd given it hasn't even been out for that long. It's also just too much of an overkill seeing just how many of these live-action remakes they seem to release at once, with there having been as many as 4 live-action Disney remakes in 2019, being Dumbo, Aladdin, The Lion King and Lady and the Tramp. I wouldn't be surprised as well if they still go through with making a live-action remake of Sleeping Beauty, even though they've already done Maleficent, which was the story just from a different perspective, and just confused things canon-wise given they've already showed a different story from Maleficent's perspective. The Winnie the Pooh Christopher Robin film was very disappointing and annoying too, though I'm just glad at least again that was also another perspective, angle of the story as opposed to just a simple rehash of say all the original Winnie the Pooh shorts but live action. In conclusion, it annoys me that they've made as many live-action remakes of these Disney films as they have, but the fact that they don't seem to want to stop until they've remade every single Disney movie is just ridiculous. Apparently the only one they're likely never going to remake is Pocahontas, because of course it wouldn't sit well with today's society with the whole portrayal of Native Americans. But I think that's about it. It's just ridiculous as well when you think just how many original ideas they could come up with by say looking at doing films of other, lesser-known folk and fairy tales that haven't been made into a Disney movie yet. Like there's so much potential there of a good range of ideas they could come up with, or like I say maybe doing what they did with Maleficent. But of course money comes before depth and originality, doesn't it? I mean even the political correctness. Diversity is what makes them so much cash as well, isn't it? So basically, Disney was just falling apart and running out of their ideas, even after Disney Toon Studios shut it down. But hey, Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar Animation Studios are still continuing to work on something new, like they've been announcing the sequel to Zootopia, Elio, Hoppers, Toy Story 5, and Incredibles 3. So I guess at least we can just still stick to the classic, original Disney animations we all loved as children and that the child in our heart still loves now to this day.